Russian ships leave Crimea, Ukraine can enter the peninsula without a naval battle. Another Russian warship has been spotted fleeing annexed Crimea, according to Ukrainian Navy spokesperson Captain Dmytro Pletenchuk. Another small Russian ship is making its way out of our Crimea. Run! Run! Pletenchuk said in a post on his Facebook page. Newsweek recalls Russia has been forced to relocate many of its warships away from Crimea to its Novorossiysk base in Russia's Krasnodar region as a result of ongoing Ukrainian attacks targeting its vessels as Kiev seeks a reverse to Russia's 2014 annexation of Crimea. Russian telegram channel Crimean Wind reported that Russia's Bora-class project 1239 hoverborne guided missile corvette was spotted leaving the Black Sea Peninsula alongside a Raptor-class patrol boat a day earlier. Russia's Project 1239 missile hovercraft is designed to combat enemy surface combat ships and high-speed boats. The Russian Black Sea Fleet continues to leave annexed Sevastopol, the channel said, referring to the port city in Crimea. Until now, both of these ships were permanently based in Sevastopol. Russia has relocated some of its prized Black Sea Fleet vessels from its port in Crimea to avoid further losses following successful Ukrainian drone and cruise missile strikes. Satellite images from last October showed that Russia's fleet was fleeing from Sevastopol to Novorossiysk in Krasnodar Krai in southern Russia as Ukraine targeted Moscow's vessels. Ships were also heading to the Russian naval port in Feodosia, further east on the annexed Crimean Peninsula. More recent satellite images from April, shared by open-source intelligence OSINT researcher M.T. Anderson, appear to show that the Black Sea Fleet has largely abandoned its major Crimean naval bases. Pletenchuk said in March that Kiev's ultimate goal is complete absence of military ships of the so-called Russian Federation in the Azov and Black Sea regions. A third of Russia's Black Sea Fleet has so far been disabled, he told Ukrainian outlet RBC. Experts close to Ukraine's defense ministry previously told Newsweek that Kiev is embarking on a strategy to demilitarize the Black Sea Fleet as part of steps toward eventual liberating the peninsula. In April, British Defence Minister Grant Shapps said that Russia's Black Sea Fleet had been rendered functionally inactive after Ukrainian strikes on Sevastopol. Putin's continued illegal occupation of Ukraine is exacting a massive cost on Russia's Black Sea Fleet, Shapps said in a post on X. NATO representatives are helping Ukraine prepare a counter-offensive in the Kharkiv region. Kiev has not abandoned the idea of conducting a counter-offensive in the Kharkiv region, driving Russian troops out of the region. At the moment, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Alexander Syrsky, is forming strike groups of troops with the help of which he will try to break through the Russian defense. Retired Russian Lieutenant Colonel Andriy Marochko spoke about this. Syrsky is planning a counter-offensive operation in the Kharkiv direction. Now the existing reserves are being drawn up and the operation itself is being planned. NATO officers are said to be actively involved in its preparation. It is assumed that the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine wants to carry out an offensive in 2 or 3 local areas, in particular in Volchansk and near Liptsy, in order to eliminate the threat from the northern direction. Most likely, the plan of the Ukrainian command is to level out all our recent successes in this area and carry out the so-called de-occupation by analogy with the counter-offensive in 2023, but only in a local area. It also became known that the development of this operation is being carried out directly by Syrsky with the participation of officers from NATO headquarters. Leads, RIA News, experts' words. Meanwhile, fierce fighting in the Kharkiv direction has been going on for several weeks. The command of the armed forces of Ukraine has pulled up reserves and is counter-attacking in 2 areas, precisely in Volchansk and in the Liptsy area. In the first half of May, Russia opened a new front to its war against Ukraine in dramatic fashion. The 2-pronged offensive on Kharkiv Oblast unfolded on the back of some of the most difficult months for Ukrainian forces, overstretched and depleted after a brutal winter and early spring campaign fought with severe ammunition shortages. The initial offensive was particularly painful for Ukrainians, taking areas that had already once been occupied and liberated by the Ukrainian army, and accompanied by escalating attacks on civilian targets in Kharkiv city itself. But just 2 weeks after it started, Russia's move on Ukraine's second largest city stopped moving, meeting fierce resistance from a number of hardened Ukrainian brigades and specialist units sent there from the eastern and southern fronts. Russian investigation revealed shocking facts about Kadyrov's illness, assassinations, harem. Russian investigators have reported that Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov's circle of associates may be involved in high-profile political assassinations, and that Kadyrov himself is preparing his successors due to illness. Russian media outlet Proект reported this. The media outlet recalls that the Kadyrov family came to power in Chechnya in 1999. At that time, Akhmet Kadyrov, who had previously declared war on Russia, agreed to take up the post of the head of Chechnya's administration. The investigators write that in exchange for loyalty to the Kremlin, the Russian authorities offered candidates for the head of Chechnya $5 million in cash, a house in Sochi, and permission to hand over a large Russian city such as Novorossiysk. Akhmat Kadyrov then received not only all of Chechnya as a gift from Putin, but also a prayer rug, which he was particularly proud of, a family friend said. Ramzan Kadyrov, Akhmat Kadyrov's youngest and favorite son, has been serving as a commander of an armed detachment under his father since 2000, helping the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation search for separatist supporters in Chechnya. Akhmat Kadyrov, who had begun to have disagreements with the Kremlin, was killed in an explosion during a parade at the Dynamo Stadium in Grozny on the 9th of May 2004. The bomb was planted right under the seat that Kadyrov Sr. was sitting in. Ramzan Kadyrov was not with his father that day, but in Moscow. Putin immediately welcomed him and made it clear that he would be the next head of Chechnya. As a result, the media outlet writes, under Kadyrov, Chechnya has effectively withdrawn from the Russian legal framework, becoming a unique region with its own army and its own essentially Sharia law, where, unlike the rest of the country, the death penalty is actually in force, where colossal sums of money are stolen and no one is punished for it. Proekt believes that the Chechen leaders' circle may be involved in many high-profile political murders. In particular, there is a Chechen mark in the murders of politician Boris Nemtsov, former Chechen Deputy Prime Minister Yakov Sergunin, Forbes magazine editor-in-chief Paul Klebnikov, Novaya Gazeta journalist Anna Politkovskaya, and Natalia Estemirova, a member of the Memorial Human Rights Center. Regarding Kadyrov's illness, which has been repeatedly reported by the media, the newspaper, citing sources, writes that Kadyrov did not have kidney problems, which had been cured, at least for a while. He began to prepare his successors. He put members of his family in almost the entire vertical of Chechen power. Officially, Ramzan Kadyrov has one wife, Medni Kadyrova, who gave birth to 14 children by the age of 42. In fact, the investigation claims the head of Chechnya has a harem of concubines, and his children were born by at least 4 women.